What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great day. Today we are gonna finish the back end. We're gonna go ahead and modify the frame as well as the hangers to be able to put our 08 plus leaf springs on here. Do some work with the drive shaft, and hopefully we can make it fit with our Super Duty axles. And like I said, we should hopefully be able to wrap it up today. So let's get right to it. The first thing we gotta do is modify our OBS shackles because the Super Duty ones won't work. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these, and I'll show you what we gotta do. So it's gonna be really hard to tell, but the problem with these shackles is that the part that actually bolts to the frame, to the hanger, is too big. And let me get the OBS shackle. Okay, so here's a great comparison of why the Super Duty ones won't work. As you can see, they are much bigger. They are almost an inch bigger in diameter than the OBS shackles. Now from center to hole, they're about the same, but just the bushing on the Super Duty is much bigger. So, but these will work just fine. The only modification that we gotta do is on these holes right here that actually mount to the bolt to the Super Duty spring, we gotta make them a little bit bigger, but that's not a problem at all. So let's go ahead and take care of that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna be using my little drill press with a step drill bit to drill this out just a little bit to be able to fit our bigger bolt right through it. And there you go. In less than 2 minutes, you have your shackles modified and ready to go on the OBS. Now, just in case you were wondering, you gotta drill it out to 5/8. That's about the size that you need for this bolt. Go ahead and add some grease to your bolt before you throw it in. And there we go, guys. Our shackle is ready to go on the hanger, which is what we're gonna do right now. And there we go, guys. That is the back end basically completely done. Now we got to do the front end, which is a little bit more involved. Okay, for the front end, we're doing the same exact thing. We're modifying the hanger now though to fit these larger bolts through it. Okay, guys, and just like that, we are done. This thing is drilled out, and it's gonna accept that bigger bolt that the front of our spring takes. So now the next thing we gotta do is figure out where we are gonna position the hanger. Now what I ended up doing is I went back to my Super Duty chassis and I measured my distance between my rear hanger, the center of the bolt, to the center of the front hanger, the center bolt. And it gave me exactly 65 inches. So what I did is I came back here, and again, I measured from the center of the hanger, the bolt, 65 inches forward. And that measurement should give me exactly where this hanger should go. So as you can see, I've got my 65 inches marked right here. And that's gonna be the exact center of my hanger. And it also just happens that the bolt from what used to be the front of the hanger is now gonna be the bolt to the back of the hanger. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so I threw it up on the frame, and here you can see a better kind of picture of what I mean. So we have our 65-inch mark, and it lines up just about perfectly with the center of our hole. We did also go ahead and double check with that hole. That lined up pretty good. And we squared it off with the top of the frame. So from here to the top of the frame is about 1 inch and 3/16. Same on this other side. And as you can see, it looks really good. And now all I'm gonna do is test fit the actual leaf spring and see how that looks. So let's do that real quick. And there we go. That looks really good. Our shackle angle looks just about the same as it does on the other side. If we look kind of down it matches up with the other side pretty good. And I'm actually really happy with that. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and drill out the rest of all these holes, get everything bolted up. And that's basically gonna be it for the leaf springs. Really not that bad. By the way, did you guys catch my last video where I modified these leaf springs? If they look a little bit weird, that's because I actually removed the overload as well as the third leaf out of the pack. And I did that to try and get a better ride out of this thing. So we'll see how that works out. I'll leave a link to it over here or over here, I think. Anyways, something will pop up that you can click and check that out if you're interested in it. So to drill out these holes, I'm gonna start with the pilot hole and then I'm gonna move on to a step drill bit. Now, if you guys have never tried one of these things out, they are freaking amazing, and I highly recommend that you guys get yourself a set of good step drill bits. Now, obviously, when you're drilling through your frame, one of the most important things you want to do is you want to make sure that there's nothing behind your frame. On the passenger side, it's really not a big deal. There's really nothing behind it, but you definitely want to be really careful when you're doing the driver's side, because you've got your fuel tank as well as fuel lines, brake lines, all kinds of stuff on that side. So you really want to be careful on that other side. And there we go, guys. We have a 1/2 inch hole all the way through the frame, through our hanger. And we're basically ready to bolt this thing in place and we'll be done with the leaf springs. Okay guys, so we got the leaf springs in place. We got all the bolts drilled through, installed, tightened, and everything on this thing is set. The only thing that we haven't done is actually tighten the all the screws that go to the actual leaf springs. And you want to leave those loose or snug until you have the full weight of the truck underneath them. So I'm actually gonna wait to get those tight until I have the bed and everything on this thing and it's on the ground. We did also take a few measurements to the center and pin on both sides from like the cab and a few spots on the frame that should be the same on both sides, just to make sure that it is square and that it's going to track, you know, straight down the road. And it is. It's actually nearly perfect on both sides, and I'm very happy with that. And now we're going to move on to actually, well, actually no, never mind. We did also install a conversion U-joint on our drive shaft to be able to bolt it up to our axle. And I believe that's the part number to it. Kind of probably blurry, but I'll leave a link to it down below so you can go ahead and grab one for yourself. It makes it super easy to be able to bolt up the axle. Also, after I bought the U-joint, I also discovered that you can actually buy a flange instead of the U-joint and use your OBS U-joint. So you can go either way. I ended up going with the U-joint because, like I said, I purchased the U-joint and I found out about the flange afterwards. But anyways, at this point we are basically ready to install the axle. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I have my engine hoist ready to pick it up, which, by the way, I freaking love this thing. It's probably one of the coolest tools that I have. It comes in so handy for so many different things. But like I said, we're gonna chain this thing up, lift it into place, bolt it to the leaf springs, and we'll go from there. I am determined to get this back half done today. Okay, we got this thing all rigged up and ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and crank on this, and yeah, let's do this. Okay, so this thing didn't pick up necessarily even, but I think we'll be all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw our OBS 4-inch block as well as our lift block on here, and hopefully we can get it centered enough to be able to put this in place. Okay, so I actually got the installation of the blocks wrong, believe it or not. Let me show you how they actually go. So I don't know if you saw in the video, but I had the lift block on top of the original block, and you want them the other way around. You want your lift block under your original block, and that's basically so that your bump stop kind of stays at around the same place. If you had it the way that I had it, this would be way down there and it wouldn't really do what it's supposed to. So anyways, let's get back to the video. Okay, I've got all of this held with a clamp so it doesn't fall over while I'm cranking on the other side. Let's see if it works. Okay, so far so good. We just gotta get it lined up with that alignment pin. Now we're gonna crank up on it a little bit more. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and find our U-bolts and try and get this whole thing cinched down. Okay guys, quick update, big update. We have our axles under the truck being held under their own weight. That is freaking awesome. I can't believe it. Now, I'll go into more detail about the lift that I got once we get to the front, because that's kind of like the more important part. And I know what you're saying. Lift blocks? Why? And there's a reason to it. I know why I'm doing it. And again, I'll go over that in a later video. Here's the thing. That lift block, it's 2 inches, but in reality, it's only giving me 1 inch max because we took off that overload and that extra spring. So in reality, that's more maybe like 1/2 inch or so, like from 1/2 inch to 1 inch of lift that block is giving us. The only thing that I am worried about is this thing is probably gonna axle wrap like crazy, and I want to try it out. And if it is really bad, I am gonna go ahead and probably throw some traction bars or do something else to it to try and control that. But we're gonna run this for now. In that same topic of traction bars, I'm not sure. I kind of want to build my own. Like I said, I love fabricating and I love trying to do as much as I can. So we might get a traction bar fabrication video. If not, if you guys are running traction bars from another company, let me know who you're using down below. But anyways, enough of that. The next thing that I'm going to do is actually hook up our drive shaft to our axle, and that's going to be super easy. As you can see, it's going to bolt right up. The length and everything, I think it's perfect. Like it feels, it doesn't, like, see, you don't really got to force it into place. All we're going to do right now is throw the bolts into it, torque them, and we'll be set right here. Now, if you didn't notice, I did get a brand new yoke, flange for this, as well as bolts. It's just gonna be a little bit safer. That way, running all new things. And all we gotta do is just get this thing lined up. Okay, I might need 2 hands for this. So we got our drive shaft installed. That looks freaking good. It actually turned out perfect. We also got our 1 shock in, and I think we actually have our brakes figured out, at least for the back. So the problem was that the 08 axles have a larger fitting on the hose that goes to the axle than the OBS. So what I did is I ran to my local fitting shop and they hooked me up with this adapter fitting. So this will connect to the 08 axle, the Super Duty axle. And then we should be able to just feed it through its hole. Throw in this little retainer clip. It's kind of fun trying to do it one hand. Okay. Now we're gonna tighten. Now we're gonna go ahead and snug up that adapter. There we go. And our OBS brake line should just thread in. There we go, perfect. And just like that, guys, we should have brakes now on our rear axle. So that right there is about what I ended up with. Okay guys, so this here is the speed sensor from the OBS. I've already pulled the one from the Super Duty axle, and now we're just gonna throw this one in there. It's really, well, it should be just that simple. And then we're gonna throw that bolt in there and reconnect our harness, and we should be good. Okay, quick update about the sensor. You actually have to use the OBS bolt on it too, because it won't tie in if you use the Super Duty bolt. Also, I don't know if you noticed this tape, but when I was taking off the plug from the OBS axle, I actually broke it, so I ended up throwing some tape on this. It's not like completely broken, but it doesn't like get tight as well as I would like it to. So I did the good old fix of electrical tape around it, and it should be good. Okay, now for the passenger side shock, what I'm gonna end up doing is actually welding a new bracket on. I was able to find this is actually out of I believe like an 05 to 07 truck, and that's the part number. Usually what guys do, since these are sort of bolt on, they kind of just flip them around and throw the U-bolt on. And well, what a lot of guys actually do is they also throw some weld on it. So I might do something kind of similar, but without the U-bolt, because I really don't need it. I'm just gonna weld it kind of somewhere around right there, and that should really be the only thing that we need to do to finish up the rear axle. And also, by the way, that's probably the only welding that you really need to do on this whole project. And if you don't have a welder, or if you don't know how to weld, don't get too discouraged by that. What I would suggest is finding a friend that has a welder that can come and help you. I'm sure you have one, and if not, another thing that you can do is actually hire someone to come and weld it. It'll be a little more pricey. I'm guessing probably anywhere from $100 to $200, because you know it's like a 5-minute weld as long as you have it prepped for them when they get here. But yeah, don't get too discouraged by that. You know, it's no big deal. Okay guys, update time. We got that shock mount in place, and it actually wasn't that bad. Let me show you. So the lighting is horrible, but we did get it welded in place. The welds aren't that pretty, but it'll hold pretty good. And basically the way that I did it is, on the passenger side, I went ahead and I measured basically from like the axle flange to the face of the shock right here. And I came back over here and copied that measurement. And then again, on the passenger side, I measured from the center of the eye on top to the bottom, and then came over here and did the same thing, so that I could get kind of like the measurement of like the angle to it. And it actually came out really close. See if you, kind of hard to tell, but they're in there and they look really good. So you might have been able to tell, but I did throw the new wheels and tires on this thing, but I'm not gonna show you just yet how they look, because I want this thing to be completely done before you guys actually see it. But again, I'll give you a little sneak peek. Actually, I'll tell you the tire. I actually went with the Naturo Trailblade MT, and it's a 35 and it's a 12 and a half wide. But that's basically all I'm gonna give you right now. All I can say is, like, I'm looking at them right now and they look good. They look really, really good. But that's enough of that. I don't know if you can see, but that actually sits right about where it did with the OBS leaves. So I don't think it's compressed any more than it was back then. And I also did get on top of the bed to kind of simulate the weight of the bed. We weigh about the same, you know, maybe 100 pounds difference. But I did get on top, I kind of jumped on it, and it does feel way better, you know, and I think it'll be fine. The only thing that I'm worried about, like I said, is maybe like the axle wrap on it. But other than that, I think it's gonna I think it's gonna ride amazing, and I'm super excited to try it out. What else did I do? I got that welded. Yeah, that's basically it. I got all the brakes hooked up, and I gotta get them bled, and I also gotta hook up the e-brake. But for now, that's basically gonna be it for this video. It already went on way longer than I wanted it to. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to do more of a recap on everything that I did instead of like showing you everything, because if I did do that, I would have to do like way more videos and it would take way longer. So kind of like now we're basically done with this thing, and we're gonna start moving on to the front end on the next couple of videos probably. But I am gonna try and show you in more detail the things that really matter. But yeah, like I said, basically that's gonna be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave any comments with any questions you might have. Also, check out the rest of the playlist. You know, this is already like the 9th or 10th video on this whole series. So check it out over here. Check out the playlist, or over here, not sure. And check out the rest of the videos on the channel. And again, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you for the next one.